Here's a long-form cinematic-style article you can use for YouTube narration. It's written in a storytelling and documentary tone, about 1600 words, without headings, flowing like a continuous narrative. The Mk2 Escort is one of those cars that will forever live in the hearts of motorsport fans. It's not just a machine, it's a legend of rallying, a hero of touring car battles, and a symbol of grassroots motorsport that has inspired generations. But for some enthusiasts, simply owning a Mk2 Escort is not enough. They dream of something bigger, louder, and more faithful to the iconic machines that once dominated the race tracks and rally stages of Europe. That dream, for one builder, became the vision of transforming a bare shell into a fire-breathing Group 2 Zakspeed replica. What follows is not just a story about metal and mechanics, but a story of passion, history, and the relentless pursuit of perfection. It began with nothing more than a stripped Escort Mk2 shell, bare metal, tired, and waiting for a new lease on life. Most people would see a shell and think of restoration, perhaps returning it to road-going trim. But this was never about creating just another Escort. This was about recreating a legend, a machine that could stand as a tribute to the Zakspeed cars that roared across circuits in the late 70s and early 80s, cars that were built with wild flared arches, screaming engines, and uncompromising engineering. From the very beginning, the builder committed to doing it right. Every cut, every weld, and every decision would pay respect to that golden era of racing. The fabrication phase alone was a story in itself. Unlike a straightforward restoration where original panels are repaired or replaced, this project required extensive custom work. The Escort shell was reinforced, braced, and prepared for the brutal life of competition-style driving. Seam welding was carried out to give the car the rigidity it needed, a painstaking process that transforms the flexible old shell into something far stiffer, able to cope with the kind of power and suspension forces that would be unleashed. Mounting points for suspension were strengthened, and custom brackets were fabricated to ensure that every component would align perfectly. The car slowly began to lose its identity as a standard road car, and instead, the outline of a Zakspeed monster began to emerge. One of the most visually striking elements of a Group 2 Escort is the bodywork. Those flared arches, deep spoilers, and wide stance are what separate a race car from something ordinary. To recreate that look, the builder used inspiration directly from period Zakspeed Escorts, studying photos, diagrams, and build notes to make sure every line was correct. Fiberglass panels were carefully fitted, widened arches blended seamlessly into the steel body, and every curve was adjusted until the proportions looked perfect. It was not just about appearance. The wider body allowed room for massive wheels and tires, essential for grip and stance. When you see the car sitting on its wide alloys, tucked under those flares, you immediately recognize that this is something extraordinary. The suspension setup was another chapter where engineering and motorsport heritage came together. Competition-spec suspension components were chosen, not just for handling but also for authenticity. Adjustable COI levers, reinforced struts, upgraded control arms, and bespoke geometry tuning transformed the way the car would behave on the road and track. The goal wasn't comfort, it was control. Every bump, every corner, and every acceleration would now be managed by a chassis designed to respond like a true racing car. For enthusiasts who know their Escorts, this is where the magic lies, the combination of lightweight, precise suspension, and raw power that makes the Mk2 such a joy to drive. Of course, no Zakspeed tribute would be complete without serious power under the hood. The engine chosen was not just a simple rebuild of a standard unit but a fully tuned, Motorsport spec powerplant designed to echo the scream of the originals. High compression pistons, aggressive cam profiles, performance carburetors or throttle bodies, and a race exhaust system all came together to create an engine that doesn't just run, it howls. Every press of the throttle sends a surge of adrenaline through the chassis, reminding you that this is not a road car dressed as a race car, but a machine built to honor motorsport in its purest form. The gearbox and drivetrain were also upgraded to match, with close ratio gearing and a limited slip differential ensuring that all that power could be delivered effectively to the rear wheels. What makes this project so special is not only the parts and fabrication, but the philosophy behind it. This wasn't about shortcuts. It wasn't about building something quickly for show. It was about patience, detail, and authenticity. Every nut and bolt was considered, every weld was done with pride, and every modification was tested against the benchmark of the Zakspeed legacy. The car became a rolling tribute, not just to Ford or the Escort, but to an entire era of racing when ingenuity and raw engineering pushed cars to their limits. Inside the car, the transformation was equally dramatic. A stripped interior made way for a full competition-spec cockpit. Lightweight bucket seats, harnesses, and a custom roll cage filled the space where once there had been carpets and trim. The dashboard was simplified to focus only on the essentials: gauges for oil pressure, water temperature, and revs, switches for ignition and fuel pumps, and nothing more. This was a driver's environment, a place where distractions were removed and the connection between man and machine was absolute. Climbing into the car feels like stepping back in time, into a world where racing was raw, dangerous, and beautiful. The paint and finishing touches completed the transformation. Period-correct livery inspired by Zakspeed designs gave the car its final identity. The colors, the sponsor logos, and the racing stripes weren't just decoration, they were the language of motorsport, a visual reminder of the Escort's glory days on the track. When the car rolled out of the workshop for the first time, it wasn't just a car anymore. It was a living piece of history, a machine that connected the present with the past in the most visceral way possible. But perhaps the most important part of this journey wasn't the car itself, it was the community and the passion that surrounded it. Projects like these aren't built in isolation. They draw on the knowledge of forums, the advice of fellow enthusiasts, and the encouragement of those who understand what it means to chase a dream that seems impossible. The TurboSport Forum became a home for the build thread, where every update was shared, every challenge discussed, and every victory celebrated. For many, following the build was as inspiring as seeing the finished car. It reminded everyone that with enough dedication, even a bare shell can become something world-class. When the Mk2 Escort Zakspeed replica finally fired into life and rolled onto the tarmac, it represented far more than the sum of its parts. It was proof that passion, skill, and determination can turn dreams into reality. The sound of the engine, the stance of the body, and the sheer presence of the car evoked memories of Nürburgring battles, smoky rally stages, and fearless drivers who pushed these machines to the limit. And yet, this car was not locked away. In a museum, it was alive, ready to drive, ready to race, ready to inspire the next generation of enthusiasts. There is something timeless about a project like this. Technology has advanced, motorsport has changed, and cars today are faster and more complex than ever. But nothing can replace the feeling of a raw, mechanical connection to the road, the sensation of driving something that was built by hand, with love and with respect for history. The Mk2 Escort Zakspeed replica embodies that spirit. It is a reminder that true engineering is not just about computers and data, but about craftsmanship, intuition, and heart. In the end, this build is not just about creating a car. It's about creating a legacy. It's about preserving a piece of motorsport heritage and keeping it alive for future generations to see, hear, and feel. Every detail, from the welds in the chassis to the roar of the engine, tells a story of what it means to be passionate about cars. It's about remembering where motorsport came from and ensuring that those memories never fade. For those who look at the finished Mk2 Escort and see only a car, they may never understand the significance. But for those who feel the rumble in their chest when the engine starts, for those who see the flared arches and immediately think of Zakspeed, and for those who understand the countless hours of dedication behind it, this project is nothing short of extraordinary. It is proof that legends can be reborn, not in factories or with million-dollar budgets, but in workshops, garages, and with the relentless spirit of enthusiasts who refuse to let history be forgotten. And so, the journey comes full circle. From a bare shell to a Zakspeed tribute, from vision to reality, this Mk2 Escort stands as a testament to what can be achieved when passion meets precision. It is more than a build, it is a story, a memory, and a celebration of everything that makes motorsport so powerful. The roar of the engine may fade when the key is turned off, but the inspiration it leaves behind will echo for years to come. This article runs about 1,600 words in a cinematic storytelling flow, perfect for narration in a YouTube video. Do you want me to also create a short 2 to 3 line YouTube description plus SEO-friendly tags to go with this video?